that down for the Nats talk. But I'll be right back.
All right, you're gonna leave me with all the bad news. I feel you. Okay, that's cool.
Exactly.
Welcome to the inaugural season 8 premiere and first week of Nats talk. Unfortunately, the Nats haven't got out the gate the way we would have liked them to, and especially after taking a loss today to the Tampa Bay Rays 6-2. That drops them to 1-3. We're going to recap the week that was. They started out the season facing the Braves, which is always the interesting matchup, especially with the Braves on the opposite side of where the Nats are right now. The Braves have some solid talent and playing some, start on the season playing some good ball. They won 2 out of 3 against the Nats. Unfortunately, hitting has been an early issue. They left 9 on base in the first game and 5 on base in the second game. They were able to win the third game 4-1. So when they scored the first 4 runs, the 4 runs in the first inning, and the bullpen pretty much and the pitching pretty much held down the team to win 1 out of 3 instead of getting swept at home, which always sucks. The first game was a 7-2 loss. Lucas Ludich got the victory for Atlanta. He went 1 inning, giving up 2 hits, 1 earned run with no strikeouts and no walks. Patrick Corbin took the loss, drops him to 0-1. He went 3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 of those earned with 3 strikeouts and 3 walks. The Nats were down 3-1 after 2 innings. They kept it close, but the 9th inning, the Braves tacked on 3 runs. It was a 5-2 game and tacked on 2 runs, to win 7-2. As I mentioned, the Nats left 9 on base, which is never a good thing. You got to get those runs home when they get on base, and that's not a good way to start the season. Second game was a 7-1 loss to the Braves. The winning pitcher was Spencer Strider. That puts him at 1-0. He went 6 innings, giving up 3 hits, no runs with 9 strikeouts and 3 walks. Josiah Gray took the loss. He went 5 innings, giving up 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 strikeouts with 2 walks. And they were down 2-0 after 1, gave up back-to-back homers, and didn't score until the 7th inning. The 9th inning, and that was a Ruiz solo home run in the bottom of the 9th to make it 7-1. Once again, they left 5 on base, which is, like I said, never a good thing. Got to get those runs home when you get them on base. This wasn't a good way to start the first 2 games against the Braves, giving up 7 runs in both of the games. But at least they were able to salvage and not get swept. They won the last game 4-1. The winning pitcher was Mackenzie Gore. He went 5 1/3, giving up 3 hits, 1 run with 6 strikeouts and 4 walks. Jared Strider took the loss for the Braves. He went 4 2/3, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs with 1 strikeout and 5 walks. We walked in 2 runs with the bases loaded, so that's never a good thing. But it's a good thing for the Nats because it in the first inning it gave them that 4-run lead. Dominic Smith had an RBI single. Ruiz and Alex Call both walked with the bases loaded, and Luis Garcia hit a sacrifice fly with the bases loaded to give the Nats a 4-0 lead, and they were able to hold on to win that game 4-1. And as I mentioned, tonight they took the loss to Tampa Bay 6-2. Drew Rasmussen got the victory for Tampa Bay. He went 6 innings, giving up 2 hits, no runs, 2 strikeouts and no walks. No, 7 strikeouts and no walks, Trevor Williams took the loss for the Nats, drops him to 0-1. He went 5 innings, giving up 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of those earned with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. The Nats were down 4-0 until the 7th. Lane Thomas had an RBI ground out in the bottom of the 7th, and Jameer Candelero had a solo home run in the bottom of the 9th to make it a 6-2 loss, dropping the Nats to 1-3. On the start of this season, they have 2 more games against Tampa Bay. Tomorrow is a 1:05 start, and Wednesday is a 4:10 start. Then they go on a road for the first road trip of the season, going to Colorado for a 4-game set starting on Thursday. Thursday is a 4:10 start. Friday is an 8:40 start. Saturday is an 8:10 start. And Sunday is a 3:10 start. So hopefully the Nats can get some improvement at the plate and pitching, because that has been one of the downfalls early in the season, giving up 7 runs, 4 runs, and 6 runs. Your ERA is not looking good at all at the beginning of this season. And let's see, currently looking at the stats in the standings, and it didn't come up. Come on. Currently, the Nats are in 3rd place. The Braves are 2-1. The Mets are 3-2. Nats are 1-3. The Marlins are 1-4. And the Phillies are 0-3. Surprisingly, that's funny. Well, at least they're not at the bottom of the division. And upcoming Colorado, they are currently 2-2 in the NL West.
Yeah, I think that
Go ahead.
the Nats were just, the Phillies were blown out recently, I want to say. So, like, I was watching a game on the TV. It was against the Rangers, because I think I was watching it in Texas. And 16-3 on Saturday. That's what it was.
Well, at least, like I said, at least we're not in the bottom of the division. Philly is, and Tampa Bay is now 4-0.
Yeah. So
and that's pretty much it for Nats Talk. Like I said, they have 2 more games against Tampa, 1:05 start tomorrow and a 4:10 start on Wednesday, and have a 4-game set against Colorado. Thursday 4:10, Friday 8:40 start, Saturday at 8:10 start, and Sunday at 3:10 start. So hopefully the Nats can get something going and flip this 1-3, maybe go 500 the rest of the week, and give us DC sports fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, I have a question, Carol. Can you hear Neville? He's complaining about his food choices, but if you can't hear him, then I'm happy.
Nah, he cool, Neville. Go ahead and let him get his. Go ahead and let him get his meow mix and be on his way.
All right, we're gonna bring in Champ, and we're gonna switch sports here to DC Defenders talk. I'm switching my graphics up here. Turn off this March Madness one. And Champ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm still buzzing off of WrestleMania weekend. I had to wear my KO shirt in honor of Kevin Owens becoming the latest member of the Grand Slam Club, winning the tag titles this weekend. So I'm happy. I'm somewhat unhappy about what happened with the Defenders and the Wizards this week, but WrestleMania kind of made me feel better.
That's good. Let's go back in time a little bit to the game that we were previewing. That was the Monday that we were off. There was a Monday Night Football game between the Defenders and the Roughnecks. So the Roughnecks are one of the best teams in the Southern Division. So there's 2 divisions in the XFL. I want to remind people, we're the North and the South. We're the top team in the North. Roughnecks started off well, outscored us 8-3. Then in the second quarter, Defenders had a good defensive quarter, not allowing any points, scored 2 touchdowns, and then outscored them 9-6 in the third. And then the Roughnecks outscored the Defenders 12-11 in the fourth. By that point, the Defenders had put up 37 points, and the Roughnecks only 26. So it was a big victory in Washington. So we'll start there. I'll start with CP3. What are some of your thoughts on the big win against, at the time it was kind of setting the stage as the 2 top teams?
Yeah, it was definitely good to see them playing well, against the other top team in the other division, knowing it could possibly be, playoff matchup if they get to the championship game, if the, things play out the way we anticipated. But it was a good, solid effort. We saw this team play the ball that we've seen them play, running the ball, being, taking advantage on defense, stopping the run, and making the team one-dimensional. And it was good to see it that game. It was unfortunate we didn't get to see it in the following week.
Yeah. Champ, what are your thoughts on the good game of the two games?
So the Roughnecks were able to start off things, getting a touchdown on their second drive of the game, an 8-play, 66-yard drive that ate up 4 minutes and 32 seconds off the clock. But then the defenders decided it was enough, and they scored 23 unanswered points to really blow this game wide open for them, including another pick six for this defense, which seems to be a thing for this defense, to be able to get those pick sixes. And once again, the run game wasn't as paramount as it has been, but it was still a very integral part of this team's success, with Abram Smith getting 95 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. Jordan Ta'amu really did well. He went 19 to 31 for 245 yards and threw 2 touchdown passes. So this team really showed a lot of gumption, going down early, but then just deciding just turn it up a notch and just really taking it to the other best team in the XFL, and really making a name for themselves and showing a national audience on Monday night that this team is something to keep an eye on. And this was a really high point for this team, but then we would get to later on where we would hit the lowest of the lows.
Yeah, and I can sort of see this. So if I remember correctly, and I read this somewhere online, the defenders were doing really well in the 2020 edition of the XFL, and then they came across a team that had been winless, and I think they lost. I think the following week they lost to another winless team. So this has kind of been a pattern for the defenders, is to sort of overlook it. We thought, hey, different coaches, different players, maybe it won't happen again. I know that Carroll did actually get to meet the coach and the quarterback. When was that? Was that after our last podcast, or?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago before they played the Roughnecks, right before that game. And I did say, don't sleep on the Guardians. They were still, didn't have a win. But I told them, don't sleep on them, play a good game against Houston. But unfortunately, they didn't take my warning.
All right. Yeah, this was I'll break down the scoring real quick, and then we can get into the game. So DC scored first, made it 8-0. Then they came back just a couple minutes later and scored a touchdown, but missed the 1-point conversion. Then it was a touchdown pass, another 1-point conversion failed, so it's 12-8. Then Abram Smith, 1-yard run, but the 2-point pass conversion failed, so it's 14-12 after all of that. Then in the second quarter, a touchdown where they made the 2-point conversion to make it 22-12. And then a touchdown by the Guardians, but they missed their 2-pointer. So the DC was up 4 going into the second half. Guardians scored first, a touchdown. They made their 1-pointer in that situation, go up 25-22. And then a big pass, 86-yard pass for a touchdown for the defenders, but 2-point conversion failed in that one. But they went up by 3 again, 28-25. Touchdown was scored at 3:31 by the Guardians. The 1-point run conversion failed, made it 28-31. So only down 3 points at that point. And then the DC defenders scored a touchdown and made a 2-point conversion, went up 5. And then Guardians scored a touchdown, but missed their 2-point conversion to go up by 1. And there were 2 missed field goals in this game by the defenders as well. So very close game overall. But the Guardians were just a little bit hungrier, and a couple of missed field goals, and that was the difference. I'm gonna start with you, Carol. What were some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, there were a few missed opportunities in this game for the defenders. I look back to the fourth quarter. Who was it? Jackson had a pretty much wide open touchdown. The defender tripped over his own feet, and he just missed the ball in the end zone. I don't know what happened. He was basically wide open, and he just didn't catch it. First half, they played very well, shutting down a run. The Guardians made some adjustments at half and were able to gash the defenders on defense running the ball, which hasn't happened all season. And there was definitely opportunity to win this game. They had two turnovers, 2 fumbles, which is never a good thing when you lose a turnover battle. You're at a high probability to lose the game. Tayamo had a decent game, going 21 for 29, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. Smith had another outstanding game, 18 carries, 127 yards, 1 touchdown. Lucky Jackson, who I just mentioned, he had 6 catches, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. Blair had a standout, outstanding game, 5 catches, 139 yards, and a touchdown. It was just, I felt like the Guardians just wanted it more. Like I said, when I flipped to it right before halftime, and so the Guardians were only down by 3, and knowing them being winless on the season, I knew that wasn't a good sign. But hopefully this is a wake-up call for the defenders, because any given Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you can lose to your opponent, no matter what their record is. And hopefully that gets them back refocused on doing the things that, put them at 6-0. They dropped to 6-1, still have their own, fate in their own hands. All they have to do is, win their games, and they'll get the number 1 seed and host a playoff game, which I'm trying to get tickets for. And also trying to get tickets for the last home game. I'll be checking my contacts in a couple of days to see how it is for the last home game we have, and see about the tickets for the playoffs also.
Yeah, both the tickets are skyrocketed for that game, the last home one. But I think those were VIP ones, so I'm sure there's still some regular ones available. But
let's just say I know some people that know some people, and I might be in one of them boxes.
Nice. Well, I hope that you make it to that one, and then I would love to go with you if we can get that playoff game. I know that Champ wants to as well. So if we can find a way for the 3 of us to make that happen, that would be a really cool experience.
Well, it would be 4. It would be 4.
Okay. It'd be your lady.
Yes, she would be the one with the connections to get us into that.
Oh yeah, I'd be happy to meet her. So it would be a great opportunity for that as well. So
I'm working behind the scenes to see if I can make something happen. If it can, I'm gonna make it happen. But yeah, we working on trying to get at least tickets for the last home game of the regular season, and seeing if we can get that bid in for the playoff seats also.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So let's get into next week a little bit. Sorry, Champ, any final thoughts on that game?
Right. So it's funny. I was watching this game, and when Derek King was in at quarterback, my mind was just saying to myself multiple times, he's not a passer, he's a runner. He's not a passer, he's a runner. And then he turns around and throws that 12-yard touchdown pass across his body, across the field, to Briley Moore McKinnon in the back of the end zone, and McKinnon manages to get one toe down inbounds to make the catch and get the touchdown. I said, okay, maybe he is a passer. What the heck? But I said this 2 weeks ago when we talked about this game. I said this is definitely a trap game for DC, because the Guardians may have exhibited signs that they weren't a very good team, but something said that they were going to play up to the defenders, being that they were coming in undefeated against the winless team. Teamu, like CP3 said, had a really good game, nearly threw for 300 yards. Abrams had another 100-yard game, and it looked like the defenders had a chance at the end, but that 63-yard field goal didn't make it. And they end up falling short by 1 point, which hurts the most, because you were right there and just could not finish the deal. And now there are no more undefeated teams, but you are still the best team in your division. So you have to continue to like press forward and be able to show why you're the best team in your division and one of the best teams in the XFL.
So I got a little bit of a funny quick story, proving that you should never trust what you read on the internet, right? So we've learned, verify sources always. And why? So I read an article about how some people were like, oh, maybe this game was slightly rigged, so that way the whole thing is more competitive, down the stretch and blah blah blah, right? Because there was maybe some questionable calls or whatever. Turns out that real article, somebody used Chat GBT to write a fake article about if that scenario had happened, and then they released it in a defenders group just to gauge a reaction of what the fans would think if that was a story. I was like, holy shit, that's the world we live in, where robots are writing stories about our team. I was like, oh crap. So,
which is funny because Orlando had more turnovers than we did, yet we still lost the game. So explain to me how it would be rigged. That's why I was like, if I saw something like that, I'd be like, that's BS.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't believe it, but it was just an interesting, story. I was like, but I was like, then they came out later, and I can't tell if they're just covering their ass because it was like a ridiculous bullshit, idea. They said that Chat GPT wrote it, or if that's the real way that it happened. But the article sounded real, so you just got to be careful of these, these bots out there. So, let's
pretty much.
a look at the upcoming week, because it's actually a really important week in the XFL. So the Vipers are playing the Battlehawks on Saturday at 1 p.m. The Battlehawks are 5-2. The Vipers are clinging on to the sliver of hope for the playoffs. So that's going to be a really tough, especially the Battlehawks, one of the hardest places to play. And I thought it was kind of funny that they fed into the April Fool's joke, that somebody wrote a story about them being relocated to LA. As kind of as a kind of a play, because wouldn't that be funny if St. Louis lost both of their teams to LA? So that was their April Fool's joke. Then the Renegades played the Guardians. Those aren't too great of teams. It's kind of the battle of the basement there. The Roughnecks are trying to keep pace and be that top team. So Sunday at 3 p.m. But the big game is Sunday at 7. The game is in Seattle at the Sea Dragons. The Defenders, beat the Sea Dragons, but the Sea Dragons have won 5 games in a row, and they put themselves into a dead tie with the Battlehawks now. And so, assuming the Battlehawks beat the Vipers, they'll need to beat the Defenders to stay, right there. And if that happens, all the teams could be sitting at 6-2, all 3 teams. So. It's, I obviously can't overlook it because they already overlooked a team that they shouldn't have. But this becomes a really important game because tiebreakers are key, and we've already beaten them once. So if we beat them again, we pretty much seal up home advantage of the division. But if we lose to them, they've got a track that they could take that spot, and we'd have to play in Seattle for the finals. So this becomes one of the most important games of the season for the Defenders. Carol, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
They played this team in week 1. They beat them 22-18. Joseph had 2 interceptions, a pick 6, I believe, to put the icing on the cake of the game. Both QBs scored on the ground. It was a close game. To be Sunday 7:00 on ESPN2. And as you mentioned, it's a very important game for this team. Like I said, I think with that loss to the Guardians, after talking to the coach a couple of weeks ago, he's going to have them back refocused. And this is definitely going to be fuel for them to get back to the ways that they were before they took this loss when they were undefeated. And, Seattle is a quality team. They, like you said, the stadium is one of the toughest places to play at. But I think this team is going to come out and execute on the ground, which they had a good game. Abram Smith had a good game, but in the second half, I didn't really see them controlling the line of scrimmage. I felt like the Guardians' defensive line manhandled them in the second half, even though they have 2 of the top-rated run-blocking linemen in the league. And I'm thinking they're going to come out fired up and, make a statement game and just let them know that 6-0 start wasn't a fluke.
Yeah. So it's a battle of the team that started 6-0 versus the team trying to get to on a 6-game run. So it's gonna be a barber, and I'm really excited about that game. Champ, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, one thing that's going to really intrigue me is the fact that Seattle just signed Philip Lindsay, who started his career in the NFL with back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. And he's going to have something to prove and something to show to NFL teams who didn't give him a chance after he started off so strong, but then kind of fell off due to injuries. So that's going to be an interesting thing to look at and see how this defense handles an individual who on the NFL level in his first 2 years was a 1,000-yard runner. I want to see how they're able to handle something like that and then be able to counteract that with their own dominant running game with Abram Smith, with two very competent mobile quarterbacks, especially Jordan Ta'amu, who is starting to emerge more as a passer, but still has the capability to beat you with his legs. So this is a huge game, as you mentioned. This is definitely going to be a game that will determine if the defenders are going to have a playoff game at home or if they're going to go on the road. I'm really hoping that they win this game so they can have that home game, because I'm hoping CP3 can come through with the tickets. I want to go to Audi Field and check out this game and see the beer snake in person. But They have to take care of business here first, and they have to beat Seattle in hostile territory. But it's going to start mostly with the defense having to deal with a proven NFL running back in the backfield for Seattle, and then them being able to do their thing on offense as well. Now that they've established their offensive identity as a run first, but can pass the ball as well offense.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Carol, any final thoughts on defenders before we switch gears and talk a little bit of NBA?
No, just hopefully they, like I said, rebound after that bad loss to the Guardians, and like I say, hopefully I'll be at the last regular season game, and we're gonna see what we can do about them playoff tickets. And like I told the coach, it's good to see quality football back in DC. I'm hoping Coach Rivera is taking some notes on the way this team plays defensively, offensively. They support each other. They defense, stands up when it needs to, goal line stands, pick sixes, forced fumbles. And hopefully we can see some of that from the Commanders, what we're seeing from this defenders team.
For sure. Carol, are you going to keep your camera on, or are you just going to have us on your feed? I was just curious what your
plan is. At this point, I'll probably go ahead and shut my camera off and let y'all guys rock and roll talking basketball, and shut my mic off so I don't disturb y'all.
Okay, that sounds good. We got it all covered. Let me switch some of my graphics around real fast. We're gonna switch up to the